Utah. This is an overlander's paradise. As a local, I am fortunate to explore this mecca on the regular, and I want to share some of my favorite trails with you from northern Utah. For my Patreon patrons, all of these trails and waypoints will be shared. If you want to join the community and gain access to perks like routes and waypoints, check the description for all the details. This community is just getting started and we're just growing it, so if you want to help shape the future of my content, join today. All of the trails I go over in this video are off-road routes. Conditions are not guaranteed. By traveling these routes, you do so at your own risk, and before attempting these trails, please check fire regulations, updated MVUMs, and travel restrictions. Okay, now that that is out of the way, let's start with number 5 on my list, Skyline Drive. This is number 5 on my list because it is extremely popular here in northern Utah. Beginning at the Bountiful B and then riding north along the ridgeline of the Wasatch Front, this trail has views of the Salt Lake Valley, the Great Salt Lake, or what is left of the Great Salt Lake, and then eastward into Morgan County. It is just beautiful. This section of the Skyline Trail is not a secluded trail. It is, like I was saying, very busy and often backed up with traffic from side-by-sides, motorcycles, and then just public land gun enthusiasts working on their targeting skills. If you can get past the trail traffic and don't mind picking up some of the litter from the crowds that camped there before you, you will love the alpine feel of this trail that borders the city below it. The Skyline Trail, or Skyline Drive, is best accomplished in a mid-range PSI. I prefer about 18 to 20, and it helps with all the washboards and the occasional rocky portions of the trail. While high clearance isn't required, you should leave the Civic in the garage and take at least an all-wheel drive vehicle. Be prepared for ruts and avoid this in heavy rain if you can. The gates for this trail close November 1st and then open late May, early June, depending on snow levels. Speaking of snow levels, every year there are snow recoveries on this trail. If the gates are open and you see any sign of snow up there, turn around. Don't be that guy. Please don't get stuck on this in the snow. You could be in a world of hurt. Another word of advice for this trail, always check the fire restrictions. This mountain is notorious for summer fires. Overall, be responsible and know that if you are looking for a quick day trail that you can extend into an overnighter, this one is likely for you. Number 4 isn't a specific trail, but it's an entire region. The Uintas are generally open between late May or early June and then into October or November. Similar to the Skyline Trail, the whole area is mountainous and filled with high altitude lakes. But just like Skyline Drive, these trails can fill up quickly with traffic from side-by-side urbanites looking for fresh air. And then obviously the one that we all hate, but that occasional like fifth wheel trailer that has no business being on any of the trails. So basically, if the trail is moderately easy, it's going to be populated. There is a ranger station in Camas that can provide you with an MVUM before you enter the Uintas. I highly recommend stopping there to hear about the conditions of the areas you plan to visit. Black bears, mountain lions, both of them are frequently sighted, so be cautious of food storage and cooking too late into the night, and make sure to carry bear spray while you're up there. Although the entire region is fantastic and you should be exploring it, I do have a few trail suggestions, starting with Soapstone Pass, which connects Mirror Lake Highway to Highway 35 and then back into Francis, Utah. Soapstone has insane wildflowers midsummer and then views like nothing else in the Uintas. This trail is well maintained and it can be tackled in a 2-wheel drive without any issues in good weather. If it's wet, you'll at least want an all-wheel drive, and if the route has any sign of snow on it, I recommend high clearance 4-wheel drive with rear locker and possibly snow chains. Another one worth checking out is the out and back Norway Flats. This trail hits early switchbacks that have some camp spots that you can hit. They're just tucked away, kind of secluded. But if you keep going up it, it then rolls into pines and aspens to a clearing where you can jump out and hike around to a few of the small alpine lakes up there. 4-wheel drive and low tire pressure are a must for this trail. It quickly turns rocky and then has a few areas of large rocks that you will need to traverse. As you can see by my Tacoma in this footage, it has been a hot minute since I've been back to this trail, but I still think it is worth an overnighter amongst the trees. One last suggestion for the Uintas is really just a waypoint. I think you can get to this spot via 3 different routes, so I will let you route plan your own way to it. But it's Black's Fork, it's a ghost town. Once upon a time, I think it had a population of around 1,000 people. But it's pretty cool. You can go there, walk amongst some of the old buildings, and imagine what life would have been like when that town was alive and well. And those are all just a sampling of what the Uintas have to offer. I really think the Uintas could probably be a video all their own, if not an entire summer spent up there. So go to the Uintas, you'll love it. Number 3 is Squaw Peak and Hobble Creek Canyon. This route starts in Provo Canyon and then runs an alpine course south to Hobble Creek Canyon. Be prepared for breathtaking views. There is alpine scenery, and then you can catch Utah Lake beyond the ridges westward. There is a paid camp loop up the route and a few dispersed spots, so if you're looking to camp, carry some cash. But if not, don't let that discourage you, because you can do this trail in a day with really no issues at all. I would say a mid-clearance all-wheel drive is a minimum for your vehicle, but four-wheel drive and high clearance on mid-range tire pressure around 18 to 20 will make this much more enjoyable. And it's just, it's a beautiful trail. Word of caution on the weather. I once did this in September and got hit with a snowstorm, and it was terrible. I mean, traction was shot. There were felled trees like every quarter mile. I wish I was showing you video of it, but in an unfortunate accident, I deleted all of my video files from that trip. So I hope that these photos show you just, I mean, it's beautiful in the winter, but also try not to drive in the snow. It too has a gate, so expect it to be closed around November 1st until May, June. So number 2 on the list is the Transcontinental Railroad Trail. For those history buffs out there, you can start the trail at the actual site of the Golden Spike ceremony, where the East and West Coast rail lines were joined together. That is here in Utah, which is awesome. Leaving the visitor center, the road forks a little bit to the north, and that is where the actual trail begins. The thing about this trail is during World War II, the rail lines were dug up and salvaged to help support the war efforts. So they used all of the rail lines to construct tanks, planes, boats, and really anything else that needed steel from the rails. What remains is a raised trail that is mile for mile the original route of the track. As such, you'll want to carry a tire puncture kit and at least one good spare tire and tools for tire repair. The likelihood of catching a railroad spike is very high. The Transcontinental Railroad Trail is a long trail. If you hustle, you can complete it in a day, maybe 8 to 10 hours, but I highly recommend doing it in 2 days. Four-wheel drive and high clearance are recommended. Rutted trails are very common because a lot of people drive it when it's wet and gross and they just destroy the trails out there. Conditions north of the Bonneville Salt Flats where this route goes, they change quickly, so just better be prepared. Make sure to carry water and fuel, and then keep your eye on the maps because the route forks all the time. You can easily get turned around if you're not paying attention. Along the way, you can also stop and see some of Utah's famous land art, like the Spiral Jetty, which used to be in the water of the Great Salt Lake, but is now just on the dusty remains of the shoreline. Another must stop is the loosened sun tunnels, which is a great spot to camp. Surprisingly, these concrete conduits can be busy in the middle of the desert, especially around both winter and summer solstices as they line up with the setting sun. Winters out there may not have a lot of snow, but temperatures will quickly drop below 0 degrees Fahrenheit as soon as November hits. So be aware of that. I think with the right cold weather gear, you could love the experience because being out there at winter solstice is pretty cool. Number 1 on my list is the ever historic Pony Express Trail. The Pony Express Trail starts west of Lehi, Utah near 5 Mile Pass, and although this portion of the route was recently paved, after the first 10 miles or so, it will turn back into a dirt trail and remain so until the Nevada border. This trail is long, so long that it crosses 3 states. Although Utah isn't the official start of the Pony Express Trail, it is the start of the longest dirt portion of the trail. Expect roughly 400 to 500 miles of trail on this one and carry enough fuel, food, water, etc. for your trip. The detour near Eureka will help you refuel and avoid Diamond Pass if you need to. Diamond Pass is the tightest portion of the trail, and I do not recommend it for full-size trucks. Even in the Jeep when I did it, it was very tight. A lot of scratches, a lot of pinstriping. The Utah portion of the Pony Express is graded and extremely easy. A 2-wheel drive could get through it with nothing. It'll be so easy. The only thing is there are washboards, so if you don't air down, they will rattle your teeth out and maybe a bolt or two loose. Some lesser talked about history of the Pony Express is the disappearance of Susan Powell. I recommend listening to the podcast Frozen when driving it. it'll give you something to do on a lot of those long stretches. But once the trail crosses into Nevada, there is no more maintenance. So from there on, it quickly turns into ruts and moon dust. High clearance 4-wheel drive and medium tire pressure are a must. And that's basically from the Nevada border all the way into California. So expect occasional off-camber passes and lots of that moon dust. But you will see, wild horses, and it's just beautiful out there. Plus the history of it all. Really cool. While I did do this in January, it was a light snow year that year. I would not recommend doing it in winter, especially as the temperatures fall and the days are short, limiting how far you can actually make it in a day. The Pony Express is a genuine overland trail. It is not full of fuel stops, campsites, or anything domestic. It is incredibly remote. Make sure to carry food, water, fuel, etc. Have a plan. Make sure you can reach emergency services should the worst happen. Carry a spare tire, tools, it's real overlanding. So it's not just make sure you got a car that can drive it, but make sure you're prepared should the worst happen. This is a dream trail. I think everybody should have it on their overland bucket list to do at least one time. I am very much looking forward to doing it again, possibly next summer as a Patreon member trip. So if that's something you would be interested in doing, let me know down in the comments if you would join us, because I'm not sure I'm going to do it with Patreon members or not. Might just go out by myself. I don't know. But wouldn't be a YouTube video without a little bonus. So as a bonus, there are 5 more trails you need to see here in Utah. Rob, my buddy over at Revere Overland, just dropped his video with 5 trails in southern Utah that every overlander needs to do. Check that video out in the video description below. Utah is a beautiful state, and there is a lot to explore. For one of my all-time favorite trip videos, check out this video here. It's basically, well, it's one of my best performing videos. It's a backcountry road trip between Utah's national parks. I will catch you over there.